In this Power City weekly live stream, I'm joined by my partner in crime, who is always by my side talking about crypto, DeFi, and all the Power City live dApps that are currently running flawlessly at the moment. So with no further ado, Mr. Just Ask Jesse, looking very chilled out in the house, kicking back. How you doing, man?
Doing good, doing real good. Let's pull up the Bitcoin and Ethereum charts, see what they're doing. I think they're on a little bit of a rip.
I would, you might be right there because I woke up this morning and I had a look, and Bitcoin's getting close to another new all-time high. It's come down a little bit in the last hour, but we crossed 110,000. Bitcoin, crossed 110,000, and Ethereum was over 2,800 just in the last hour too. Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts? Why are we pumping?
Why are we pumping? I don't know. I have no idea. But it's a good feeling to see it happen. And even, the little side chains and Pulse Chain are on a little bit of a rip.
Yeah, so it trickles down, right? Obviously, crypto's pumping, a rising tide lifts all ships. We have, if I can share this tab here, we can see Pulse up 6%, PLSX up over 7%, Ink up over 7%, and Hex up nearly 6.3%. So it's trickling down. I think it's nice when we see Ethereum getting close to that 3,000 mark, right? Because we know that a certain trader, once we get close to 3,600, 700, is going to be in profit. So I think breaking that 3,000 mark on Ethereum is going to be interesting. What do you think about the last week events? What do you think about going into bigger market events, Trump and Musk falling out? What do you think about this?
Weird, right? Because they seemed like they were like best bros for a while there, and now they're kind of talking smack about each other.
I mean, it's like WWE, right? Or WWE? Yeah. It was. They were best friends. Like, he was in the White House literally a week ago, or a week before last.
Right.
And now they're. I mean, how do things go so sour so fast?
I feel anybody who gets close to Trump, this happens though. I mean, am I right? Like, people work for Trump, whether it's for a few months or for a year or two, and then they leave Trump, and then they can complain about it. So I don't know.
Yeah, it is odd. It is odd, especially when they were so united on everything, right? And Elon came in, and Doge was helping save billions of dollars. But weird. But that seems to be on ice at the moment. You've got, talking about ice, you've got civil war kicking off in California by the looks of it. So,
yeah. I mean, I think like the National Guard or the Marine Reserves or something were spooled up to go try and keep some peace and assist in different ways.
But crypto's pumping. It's so weird, isn't it, that the markets, of course, a big major event like a Black Swan event, COVID, or a war, a lot of the time you can see some downward trend, and then it rebounds. Other times you think something like Trump and Musk fighting, who are both kind of pro crypto, pro tech. But now we see Bitcoin pumping, we see Ethereum. I think this is its highest for the last 10 months or the last year at least, right? 2,800. Mm-hmm. So can it continue? I don't know, but it's nice to see Pulse Chain pumping. It's nice to see, especially coins that you hold. And when I see like Pulse and PulseX and Ink and Hex pump, it reminds me of the fact that we talked about this many times, but it still needs to crystallize. I think not only for myself, but for the audience. You don't have to sell, right, when your coins go up.
You do not. So the best strategy for some people is to simply not sell, keep your bags, and take a loan again. because it might keep running up.
I mean, can you hear me? Okay. It says,
Yeah.
Okay. So obviously you can take a loan for whatever reason, but remember, when the markets are pumping and your collateral is increasing in price, you could sell and be in profit, which is fantastic, right? Maybe you've had 50% profit increase, or 100%, or a 2x or a 3x. But you can also risk wherever you are. When I say risk, you've got a 10% risk of losing that stack, right? Of the current amount of that for infinite upside, correct?
Correct. So you take a 10% risk, infinite upside. That's correct.
It's just mind-boggling, right? So if you wanted, let's say you had $100,000 worth of X in this case, you take a risky loan. Now, again, I wouldn't advise this, not financial advice, but let's say you take a risky loan that's like 111% or 112% because you were going to sell anyway, right?
Yeah. So for those who are going to sell anyway, if you're about to go dump, your bag or a portion of your bag, you could say, well, wait a minute, let me just dump 10% less. In fact, I'm not going to dump it all. I'm just going to collateralize it and mint myself a loan because it might keep running up. And if it runs up, I get to keep all that. I get to keep anything over the amount that I minted.
And you just can keep withdrawing. I mean, you can leave it at a higher collateral ratio, or you can keep withdrawing stables out behind it, right? To keep that collateral ratio where it is. So yeah, whether you're holding Ethereum or you're on Pulse Chain, you're holding any of these 4 blue chips, you've got Flex, you've got Pulse, Earn for Hex and PulseX, obviously liquid loans for Pulse, and now we've got from our friend Fast Abdul, who's created ink printer.
Yep.
The ink token can be collateralized too, and other ways to earn on that.
Yep.
So
he's completed the quad Richard Hart token. I almost said trifecta, but what do you call it with this 4?
The quad, yeah, I guess the quad. I'm not sure how to finish that.
Right, but
quad factor? I don't know.
Now there's every Richard Hart coin, main coin. You have a way to collateralize it.
We're also seeing Richard be more vocal on X.
Yeah, I mean, it's intriguing though. It seems like he's talking about random things.
Sorry, say that again.
It seems like he's talking about random things sometimes.
Yep, training, working out.
Right.
But he is talking about stuff like Pulse Chain's far better. We need more marketing. What do you think on this? What do you think on this tweet here, where he's telling, "Hey, we need not limp dick weak marketing, but legendary massive, never done before marketing."
Yeah, so I read that this Hex community has tried many different angles, from street signs to postcards to putting the logos on the side of race cars.
That's right.
To reaching out to exchanges and trying to get listed on an exchange.
Tours around America, right?
Tours around America, and I guess Richard thinks those are all limp dick. So he claims that he's the best marketer in the world. So I hope he just is blunt about it and says what his opinion would be for a great marketing technique. Instead of just beating around the bush and saying everything sucks, everything people have tried sucks and is limp dick. Okay, smart guy, tell us the answer. Stop speaking in code.
I agree, because obviously outrage marketing didn't really do it, did it?
Yeah, I mean, so he thought that was going to work, and it didn't. Right. So, was that limp dick? I don't want to be negative about the guy. But just stop speaking in code and give us an answer if you
Hmm.
think we did something wrong.
I mean, like everything in life, right? Life's fractal patterns. You gotta stress test stuff and see how it works. Now, obviously, kudos to him for trying it, thinking it could work because of Jake Paul, Conor McGregor, but they're coming at it from a different angle. They're already celebrities, right? So you
Yeah,
obviously we need.
and you know they're different, right?
Hmm.
So you got Conor McGregor who like beats people up for a living, right? And he's just followed around by all sorts of women, and you know,
Hmm.
guys, you know, project a little bit, and or they want, you know, they dream that that could be them, right? So he gets followed, and all these big time influencers, they have a lifestyle that other people would want. Besides the money that the Hex community has given to Richard, does Richard have a lifestyle that other people would want? I think to get a lot of followers, you have to live a life that other people wish they had. Okay, that's just my personal opinion.
No, I think you're right. Look at Dan
So
Bilzerian.
simply being flamboyant and doing crazy things and dancing on poles and having cool cars doesn't get you the followers. You know, other people, guys would have to want to be like that. You'd see a guy like that, and for you to follow, you know, you'd be like, well, I also want to dance on poles and do this and do that and do this and that. So, you know, maybe Richard looked at it the wrong way. You know, he thought copying some things that those guys were doing was the answer. When I think if you just take a step back, their overall lives and their careers and stuff is what people wish they had, and the reason those guys get followed.
Yeah, I agree. They're celebrities for their certain field. Obviously, Conor for MMA, Jake Paul for, you know, a YouTuber and now a boxer. And then obviously that's the sprinkles on the cake, right? Being seen in a Rolls Royce or in a big chain or on a yacht in Monaco. Since Instagram's got big in the last 10 years, everyone and their dogs trying to flex on Instagram, right? Hey, I'm on a yacht, I'm in Bali, I'm in whatever. So yeah, just saying I'm a rich guy doing this it needs to be, like you said, it needs to be a life that people want. For example, Dan Bilzerian built a huge following on Instagram because he showed the life of, I'm on a yacht, I'm with lots of hot chicks. I mean, I'm surrounded by hot chicks. It's me and 40 chicks on a yacht smoking a cigar. I'm shooting guns in the desert, you know what I mean? Whatever. So it's definitely not as easy as just saying, hey, I've got an expensive watch, or hey, I just went to Louis Vuitton and dropped $10,000 or whatever. It's definitely nuanced. In this cycle, here's a question for you. In this next bull run that we hopefully see in 2025, it's all been about memes, right? Because it's quick and easy. Do you think it's going to carry on, or is DeFi going to become sexy again? Real DeFi?
I don't know that DeFi in general is sexy ever. Right. So what you find is like DeFi protocols such as Aave and Liquidity and Maker and Curve and such. These things have been around for some time, for several years now, and they've never really been sexy. It's just where the smart money puts their money. Right? So the real DeFi thing, will it ever be the place everyone flocks to? No, it's kind of boring. You know, I talked to at least 3 people this week who were curious about crypto, and their first question always is, "What should I buy?" Okay, and it's not like it's not like with these protocols, it's as simple as just simply buying a token and hoping it goes up. Right. So I think the broader crypto community is all about, oh, what token should I buy? What's the latest thing everyone's talking about? I'll buy the same thing. And what they don't realize is that they're going to lose their money. 97% of those people are going to end up losing their money to the, to the other 10%. So to sit down and explain DeFi to people is very, very challenging. Explain to people how these pools work and where to stake and how to compound their earnings and take loans and all these things isn't sexy, and it's also not simple. So will it ever be the hottest thing in crypto? Probably not.
Well, I mean, I think that you're right. It's slow and steady wins the race. I think it requires a certain forethought and mindset. If you go back to if you look at society in general, right? Society is normally like a pyramid, they say. And if the majority of the people sit at the base, what's going to appeal to them, and without being rude, but if the majority of the base is uneducated in many things, right, including personal finance, especially cryptocurrency, if you're telling them, hey, you can provide liquidity here and then get a yield and stake that here and whatever, compared to you could buy a picture of a dog, right, a dog coin, or a monkey JPEG back in 2021, and then you can put in $1,000, and then you could sell that maybe for $1 million.
Yeah,
and that's going to always appeal more, right, to the masses more than the people who are interested in, real finance.
Now I'm always I'm not opposed to buying speculative things. However, it is nice to buy speculative things with money that you've earned from DeFi, because then you're not spending your own initial bag that you put into the DeFi, right? So you put $100 into a DeFi protocol, and you end up making $3, $4, $5, $10, and you took that $10 and you put it into a speculative thing, and whatever the numbers are for you, you put 10 grand into a DeFi thing, you make $100, and you take that $100 and buy the speculative thing. You're not really spending money that you would otherwise miss. Right? So I am a fan of that, and I do see a question in the chat from Betty.
Yeah, Betty.
So the stablecoin bill applies to these things called payment stablecoins, which there's a very clear definition of what those are. Collateral backed stablecoins that are backed by fiat dollars. Okay. What the bill's designed to do is to ensure that the exchanges or the institutions that are minting these stablecoins have the fiat dollars, so that when people redeem those stablecoins, there's actually dollars covering those stablecoins. So any real stablecoin has to be redeemable for something, right? So USDC is directly redeemable to Circle for $1 worth of fiat. Okay, USDT is supposed to be directly redeemable for $1 worth of fiat as well, but they're not very transparent about opening their books, right? So there's a lot of scrutiny from the government about USDT, and ultimately Tether is what who owns the USDT. So they don't. The government doesn't want a situation where people are giving dollars to the institution. They're minting stable coins, but then they're behind the scenes spending those dollars and risking or losing those dollars on speculative things, buying ETH or buying Bitcoin, or cashing it out and buying real estate or things like that, right? Because then there's this huge risk that all these stable coins aren't actually backed and the money's not there, right? If those things the institution has bought go down in value, people would not be able to redeem USDC for $1 worth of collateral. Now, in the crypto world, where there is no institution controlling a protocol, it's simply code on the blockchain. There's no institution that could be sued You can't sue the code, right? You can't change the code. There's no enforcement that could apply to some random code out there, right? And we don't even have to call these things stablecoins. There's code that ensures that each of these stablecoins is redeemable for something else, a dollar's worth of something else. But nobody's. Another thing, the bill applies to an institution that's issuing you a stablecoin. There's no institution issuing you a stablecoin with something like Earn Protocol or Flex Protocol or Liquid Loans or any liquidity protocol. You're issuing your own. You're minting your own stablecoin, and all you're doing essentially is locking up in your own smart contracts some tokens, and then minting something for yourself. There's no institution issuing those to you. You're minting them out of thin air to yourself. And then the code ensures that anybody who has some of those can redeem them for $8 worth of that collateral that anybody else has locked up. So there's no way to enforce that, but there's also, we don't even have to call these things stablecoins. Just because they're redeemable doesn't mean there's other things that are redeemable. For example, in a bridge, when you go through a bridge, the token you bring into the bridge is locked up in a pool, and you're minting yourself another token. That is directly redeemable. Anybody who owns it can take that token that you minted on the chain you're going to, and they can redeem it for one of the tokens that's locked up in that pool and go back to the original chain that you had come from, right? With liquidity forks, it's the exact same mechanism, but it's all on the same chain. You bring in a coin, it gets locked up in a pool, your own little pool, your own vault, okay? And you mint something else that's redeemable for that. So we can call these things stable coins if you want. We can call them anything else, but there's nothing to enforce there. There's nobody issuing those to you, and there's no big pool of fiat, most importantly, that has to be managed to ensure that each of the users gets their fiat for those things.
So true DeFi at its best, like as you said, that the regulations coming in are going to regulate corporations, right, or
correct
institutions behind the stable coins. You're opening your own vault, you're minting those coins from your collateral, so there's nothing to regulate there. So a good take on stable coins, true DeFi. Will it pump compared to the dog coins in the next bull markets? We will see. In the next bull market we'll see, but crypto's pumping today. You got to enjoy a green candle while you can, because yeah, we're used to seeing red across the board many times. Thanks for your time, Jesse, as usual, and we will catch you next week.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, guys, for watching. And for any of the live PowerCity dApps, you can find the correct links in the description box below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.